Good afternoon from yammybtv. Wishing you all well, sending loads of love as usual. Now, I couldn't come up with one subject today, so I'm coming up with a few all in one, if you like. Just thinking about loads and loads of things all at once at the same time. So I thought I'd share them with you, no matter what it sounds like. Pleased to report some good news for a change, or not. Well, there is good news a lot of the time, but good news regarding my condition, not the spine. Because like I said to you, at the end of February, I'm going to see a specialist, and the final decision on the operation and whatnot for the cyst is all going to be sorted in some way or another. I haven't got the results yet still. They're holding on to them. They won't report them over the phone for some reason. So the specialist himself will let me know. I think I've let you know this already. But the one thing that was been bothering me since Christmas, when I had the meltdown, when I had the traumatic experience around particular drugs and things that made me sling in a towel with all the things that I've been going through for all those months and the hurdles that I've had to cross. And what happened that night hasn't left many people, and it definitely still hasn't left me. And I'm not going to start getting cocky and thinking just because I feel all right, that means I can have a drink, have a smoke and everything. But I'm so fearful of touching things that I keep thinking it's going to bring the buzz of those drugs that made me feel that way that night. So is it a deterrent for me? I'm believing it is. I'm believing the fear factor alone. Sometimes, you would have fought the injuries and, being lucky to be alive and not knowing, what's going to happen when, they operate, and whether I'm going to be bound to a wheelchair for life, or maybe even worse, I'm not even going to be around anymore to do all this kind of stuff, because health, when you've got health conditions, of such serious nature and gravity, that anything can go wrong at any time, But to report that the one thing that was bothering me was those panic attacks and the anxiety and the stress. And it's fair to say that over the years in prison, I used to hear of men going to the doctors and reporting that, sir, I'm having bouts of panic attacks, of claustrophobia, and almost being scoffed at and laughed at, that's not a problem, that's not a condition. Well, I can safely say that for many of you that have enlightened me about those conditions, they are very, very, very real. I was getting on trains, like I told you a couple of weeks ago, and I couldn't breathe properly, and I was with a couple of people, and where they were aware of what happened over Christmas, the traumatic stuff, that they could see when I was starting to go a bit funny. And I wouldn't look at them, because when I looked at them, I can see that they wanted to cry. And if they cried, it's going to make me feel worse. It's going to irritate me, sorry to say. And I was going to start getting the ump. And, because I didn't seem to have no control over the feeling of claustrophobia. I'm dying to get off the train because of the heat and needing fresh air, and making me, open a window of some kind. Even when I'm in these different places I stay at, I was opening windows to get fresh air, and it was making me feel bad. This is how bad it felt to me. So my heart goes out to you, because there are many reporting that they have lived this way for year after year after year after year, and it has never left them. I've got a male friend or friends that they leave the house sometimes, and they get halfway down the road, and then they start running straight back to the house for the simple reason they're panicking for whatever they're panicking about, and the deep foreboding that something bad's going to happen to them, that they have to go back inside. That is like one of the highest levels, and that same feeling happened to me a couple of times, and I sympathise and empathise for anybody that tells me such things. I know now what experience is like. We talked about the other day, my granddaughter, that was the first time that I had the missing persons police phone me. Another experience that I had to go through. So all these things I'm learning, having felt them myself now. I won't be taking what people say to me too lightly, because sometimes it's easy for somebody to say that something's wrong with them, and you think, oh yeah, well, you know, just get your head down, just try reading, just try that, just try, you know, different meditation. Oh yeah, well and good, you've been dealing with it a long time and you know how to deal with it, or you found coping mechanisms. But anything that's new, that the body hasn't been through before, or the mind, is bound to be difficult, because you don't know how to deal with it, because it hasn't happened to you before. You know, with the spinal condition, I'm aware of what I can do most days and what I can't, and I know what I'm going to struggle with. You know, with those kind of things, you don't. So you get used to it after a period of time, but that doesn't mean that makes it any better. Because if you've got anxiety and you've got panic attacks and you're thinking, oh God, I'm like, I knew a lady way back in the day, when she used to drive around the Marble Arch bit over Hyde Park. She used to say, I don't like doing that bit. This is when the panic rises, and I used to think, huh? What's she on about? And I used to say, well, tell me if anything. And she had to see a doctor over it. And there are many of you out there who have to see doctors and counsellors and therapists and get all these kind of solutions that they offer to say, well, when it feels like that, you know, some people are even being medicated by it. So my heart goes out to all of you, right? So 100%, I know that it exists, and I'm still getting phone calls from people at night saying that, no, my sleep was funny. I was lying there thinking about something like personal for them, you know, about their mum, their dad, and, you know, so, and it bothers them and it worries them so much that, you know, their heart starts beating, and, you know, they start feeling dejected, or whatever the panic things that are that come by whatever it is they're thinking about. I don't know whether it happens with all things, but I noticed that mine was suffering from like claustrophobia, crowded places, being around, you know, on public transport, being around people just in general, or even being on the phone. Like I used to feel it coming, like, you know, you do. And then I realized that the trauma from Christmas that I told you about has played a major part in that. So it would seem the last week and a half, because I was getting frightened to be tucked up in bed. Like I was lying there thinking, I can't even watch the telly without, you know, like pushing my feet into the bed without, you know, thinking about what a horrible thing to go through. And I was thinking, imagine being in prison and having that on your plate. How would you ever be able to cope? You wouldn't get much sympathy there by saying you need to come out yourself to go for a walk and things like that. Because as far as I remember, they don't give you any help for that kind of thing. I remember they pissed me off so much once. I think I might have told you a couple of times in the past about when you get them smug doctors. Now, doctors in prison, all right, their hands are tied. They got a job to do. It's the NHS. Whatever way, they've got to cut back on what they could, because you get a lot of criminals or people that have been convicted, or whatever, prisoners in its own way, that go to the doctors and say things are wrong with them, and they're not, and they just want the medication to get by with drugs and that. But when it is noted in your notes that you got a spinal condition and certain things are wrong with you, and like, and it's come from like doctors outside before you came to prison, and yet you can turn up there and he looks at you and he says, oh, no, maybe we should try this drug. No, that one doesn't work. I've tried that one. That's not going to help me. Well, the one you want is very difficult to prescribe now, because we don't really like to give it out that much, because it's meant to be addictive and it's harmful. Well, hold on a minute. All drugs are harmful. What did they invent them for in the first place then? If that was the case, is that another mistake that you've all made with tramadol, with zopiclone, with diazepam, with all these mogadons and all these things in later life? Now we're to take your word for it that because those ones are becoming to be hard to come by the NHS, that these ones that you're giving us, we're to believe you now that those are the ones that are going to be all right to fit the condition. I remember it got so serious once after my spinal condition, and I don't care whether I stick myself in this one. I was so fed up with this doctor. that one morning I went and I was waiting patiently for him. You know, we're talking about the old Yammy. I'm not going to tell anybody to act in the way that I did in this day, if you get what I mean. But you know, a man, you sit in front of a man, you know that he's mocking you. And you're sitting there and you're telling him, listen, I come off the medication myself to start with because I didn't want to be on one. This was a clean time for me with the gabapentin and the pre-gabs and all the other stuff that goes with it, with the spinal. And then when the winter came and I started having difficulties, I said, look, can you put me back on the stuff? Because I'm having problems now. No, you came off it off your own accord. And you went, excuse me? Hold on, but that doesn't mean then that I'm after drugs then, does it? Because if that was the case, I would have stayed on it. So I wasn't using your surgery or what you have to offer as a hospital in prison to get what I want for any reason. Because if that was the case, I wouldn't have come off the medication because I only wanted to take it when I needed it. And now when I needed it, you're telling me about, no, you came off it. That's a good. So I planned it for a few weeks. I said, don't worry. One of those days I'm going to catch you. No. Sorry to say, you know, I used to think this way with certain things. And I know revenge isn't a nice thing. And we're going to talk more about revenge in this one as time goes on. And one of those mornings I put in an application. All right, then, allegedly, right? Allegedly, because I could be making all this up. Probably am, right? So I was hoping and praying, and I got there in the morning, and the nurse said, "Oh, you're right." So I said, yeah, cool nurse. Yeah, shut the door. Then it's just me and him now, and I'm looking at him, and I'm prepared for his laughter. I said, I'm having problems. Blah blah blah. I need serious help. Because the spasms at night, when they squeeze together with the joints, they make me scream. And it was really painful for me the winter time. And he said, no, you'll have to, well, I can, but it won't be able to happen today. I'll have to apply to the powers that be to see if we're allowed this kind of medication to give. That's not the answer that I was looking for. And I took the wrong course of action, allegedly. And I looked around and I thought, all right then. So I got up, apparently, so they said. I didn't. No, I didn't. I didn't. I plead not guilty. And I was supposed to have got up and grabbed hold of him. Injured man, you know, spinal man. How could I be strong enough to do that? Now, come on, let's be reasonable. I'm not that strong. Apparently, meant to put him in a hold. I said, listen, I've got you now. I'm really being chilling and cold and yeah, so what are you saying now then? What are you gonna, Mr. Mizra, can you please let go of me? He's not so smug now, though, are you? You know, you're not mocking and laughing no more, are you? Because all the people that you need to be surrounding you to help you for the many men that you've taken the mick on for time and time again, now you ain't got a chance to press the bell because I've got it covered. How about that? Right? Not being horrible or nothing, you know, because it's not the right way to react. But when you're in pain, certain things can drive you over the edge. And on this occasion, allegedly, they're saying that it drove me over the edge. So apparently I got him. And I'm kind of saying, making him feel how I felt, if you get what I mean, without elaborating too much. And then the door's open by accident. And one of the favourite nurses have opened the door. And she says, Samson, please, can you let him go, please? You know, so it's a very serious situation, this one. Could have developed and, you know, could have cost loads and loads of things. Apparently, her word, his word, my word. I don't care what it was. I was trying to, if anything, I was trying to restrain him, if you get what I mean, on that one. So, but I liked her. And I said, okay then. But by the time I was leaving, the bell, he pushed the bell. So everybody started coming, running to the hospital. So I'm in the bit where you have to wait to be taken back. But I'm sitting down all calmly. And people saying, Uncle Yammy, you all right? Oh, God. Uncle Yammy, you all right? And da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, cool. But I see them all running, hundreds of thousands of them with a bell. And many of them, after a long period of being in there, that you know, And then they stop and they look, and I looked at some of them. The doctor and the nurse are outside, and they're pointing me out. They're saying this, but I'm sitting there with my legs crossed like that, and I'm saying, "Why? What's wrong? I was only asking for my medication. What is it I've done?" Kind of thing. And she, the senior officer said, "Well, he doesn't look like he's just been in a struggle or anything," and that kind of thing. He said, "Right, Yammy, up you get. Come, you got to go." And that boom, boom. So I said, "Yes, sir, okay." And I walked back to the cell, but obviously I didn't get no medication. I didn't get what I wanted, but I was never going to get it anyway that day. This is the kind of lengths that I would go to in the old days when I wouldn't get my own way. So it's part of my story anyway. I got questioned and things, and that gave my version of events. And you know, for every day before what went by, every time that I saw that same doctor, apparently he's not allowed to see me, talk to me, not do anything. Every time I used to see him, I used to lean over the railings and look at him, and he used to have to go the opposite way. Not that I was like enjoying, like terrifying him or making him feel uneasy or blah, blah, blah. But I just like to reminded certain people, or allegedly reminded, so they say, if you get what I mean, that just because you're in a position of power, and I know Charlie Bronson went through this quite a lot in his life, where, you know, people got the final decision over you because they're in power and they can almost get away with doing anything they want with you. But it's different when you got somebody that turns on you and doesn't allow you to have that power, where you can sit and have a smug look on your face. Oh, you won't be getting that tonight. You do your bird, and you do it without drugs and whatever, you know, and that kind of stuff. And it's different when the foot's on the other foot. Because many times I felt belittled, and I know many men along the years have felt belittled, you know, when they're really in serious trouble and they can't get the help they need. And not saying that, you know, you commit crimes, you go to prison, and you should. Why do you have the NHS staff there anyway then, and the hospital, if it's not to help people? That just because half the population might con the doctor, or you've been through so many things, that means that the ones that are in real trouble have got to suffer because other people. But you've got to have the balance and the consistency to go with it all, if you get what I mean. So yeah, sorry, that's a bit of a long one on the NHS and that kind of stuff. But yeah, the bottom line is, pleased to report that sleep and certain things are getting back to normality, and I'll keep you posted at the end of the month with the rest of that. Also, I was thinking today, what's coming up as well. I was going to do 2 interviews, like I told you last week. It doesn't look like those are happening this week. Sad to report, I don't care. I carry on doing my little videos and entertaining you, or giving you my experiences on my own. But I've got a couple coming in. We talk about armed robbers, we talk about murderers, we talk about burglars, we talk about prison, we talk about all kind of things on yammybtv. But in the next week or two, there is going to be a different kind of, there is going to be a couple of so-called experts in the pickpocket field, if you get what I mean. And those who have had their pickpocket picks, like the Oliver Twist, you know, when we see, like when we was younger, the pocket, you know, and your wallet being stolen and things like that. You know, it's a crime that happens every second of the day. I put it in the same category as burglary. I put it in the same category as robbery. I put it in the same category of all crimes, because whatever it is, it disturbs a person's day and can make you lose your mind. Because even like you in the old days, when, you know, they say, all right, if you pickpocket or you nick a handbag with a person, while you're not violent and while you're not threatening, you get lesser time. But like I said already, lesser time sometimes doesn't mean that the person itself isn't affected by those kind of crimes. Because when you're losing your stuff, especially if you've had your pocket picks or something nicked out of you, you're not sure whether you've been stolen off, or you're not sure where you've misplaced it, which can cause you a lot of mental stress to go with that crime. But I've managed to get hold of some of those from back in the day. In the old days, they had a term for it called under the earth. Under the earth means, you know, under the subway, under the underground, under the things or whatever, where as a prolific burglar back in the day, there were professional dippers and pickpockets that used to be out there every day, fiddling and faddling and trying to, or being really good at what they do, in the way that they do it. And there was one such case where someone found £250,000 by picking up a case or something, and you know, didn't even get a lot of time for it, because it's the category of crime doesn't bring about the same large amount of sentences. So just because it's a smaller crime, I'm beginning to think some of those smaller crimes that you got less time for, you could earn as much money as you did by, you know, going out there with a gun and burgling houses and causing horrific chaos. Not saying that, you know, those smaller crimes are not, you know, causing any problems at all. Sorry. But it will be interesting to see, because now I'm hearing, you know, through knowledge, and since I've been out, not Romanians, Eastern Europeans, and there's all different kind of groups coming up on TV, saying that they work in groups now when they're pickpocketing and they're targeting certain things and coming over to this country and doing it, when in the beginning of time it was us lot over here who were doing it in the way that they were doing it. Sorry. And using it as a full-time job, getting credit cards, travelers checks, cash, dollars, getting all that kind of thing, and using it as a way, as making a living, if you get what I mean, and going to prison quite consistently, even up till today. But there are some now that finally have called time on that life as well. So we're not talking about, you know, always big major crimes like the Brinks Mat and all that kind of crime. We're talking about the day-to-day crime of the people that have been affected, because people being affected by these big crimes in general. But the crimes that often, you know, get overlooked, if you like, are those that happen every single second of the day, that are not highlighted on the ITV news, but people are losing stuff every single day, and their lives are made difficult by losing their credit cards, their front door keys. They don't know that if they've lost their handbag, people are going to have their address. They've got to be worrying in fear. You know, this kind of stuff we're going to get into as well on yammybtv. So I'm going to have supposed some of the top 5 in London that have been around quite a long time. We've heard of Susie Q, we've heard of Moxon from Northwest, we've heard about Tony Peters from South, with there's some that you're even going to, there's a Peter D from South. There's loads of names that are going to be coming in the frame, where some are going to be saying, yeah, that he was the best at this and he was the best at that. We're not here to glamorize the pickpocket game, but it's interesting to know that it hasn't been mentioned a lot on, you know, in other crime podcasts, if you get what I mean. And talking today as well also about shoplifting even, and some of them oysters. We used to call it oysting, you know, where probably ladies, but loads of men too. It's fair to say that sometimes I used to, in my old days, go out. I used to have a partner, a lady. She used to wait outside while I used to burgle. I wouldn't bring her in with me when I used to burgle, but I used to go in the shops with her, and I used to have a bit of muscle in case security came. I used to be able to, you know, push them out of the way a bit so she could make a quick entrance and exit and get out of the way. But the ways that they do it, and you know, the levels of the class of stuff that they steal, again, were ways of making decent money with not a lot of prison time involved. But the old skills of looking the part, dressing the part, turning up with a Gucci bag and, you know, a Harrods bag like you belong in the shop, and like you're not going to look too suspicious. It's no good you turning up at Selfridges or Harrods dressed like not like in a bad way, somebody with holes in their trousers and, you know, who doesn't look like they've got a lot of money, because as soon as you come in, security are going to be looking for that kind of thing. But I was thinking the other day, after all the information you've got over the years of how things are done and what they look like and what their appearances are like, you never ever seem to be able to put a stop to any of it. That the same methods that were used from way back in the day are still being used today, but yet you can still go out there and still manage to make a living. I've even got old oysters that I've been trying to reach lately to ask if there's any change in that kind of thing, because I bring that these kind of crimes need to be highlighted as well, right? It's not so much the victims of, say, losing a handbag or having your house broken into or having a gun shoved in your face or that kind of stuff. These are what we call institutional business things, where a lot of us have scoffed at and said, oh, well, it's not, you're not nicking off no thing, you're nicking off the government, so that's all right, and plus all the things are insured and whatnot. And then there'll be debates on that also as well, like is it bad, is it good, does it matter, can we safely look up to God and say, well, yeah, our crimes were lesser because we didn't actually do anything to the person itself, it belonged to, but something always belongs to someone. This is the way that I see it. I think that's a bit too long, Yam. I had loads to say, so I'm going to come back up in a minute, hopefully, with more stuff. And can't think of anything else. I'll be up soon. Love you loads.